This is Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it. Brian Cramer and Isaac Tauaefa. How are y'all doing? I feel like I have to say it like that every time.
Tauaefa.
Tauaefa?
Yeah.
How did I say it?
Tauaefa. Dude, way more accurate than most people do, so I appreciate
feel like I'm
that a
doing
lot.
the haka every time I say your name, which is not like an actual thing.
I
But
like to greet him with it, like, hey. You just get to yeah.
There we go.
And of course,
Does it
people
work?
look at us really funny at church when we do things like that to each other, but you know.
You should make a Jesus Jiu-Jitsu shirt that has the pronunciation of your name on it.
Yeah.
Just for no reason.
I thought you were going to say like Polynesian, Samoan tribal or something, but I like that. That's fine. We'll do
Tribal?
that.
We know those are for armbands for rednecks.
there you
Like
go.
that. Those are armband tattoos. But no, we got the crew from Jesus Jiu-Jitsu up in the studio.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I've been telling you guys, every time I travel now, I wear my Jesus Jiu-Jitsu shirt. I wear the black one with the white on it. And I've gotten more comments in the airport. Like I had a pilot.
Yeah.
Like, no, it wasn't a pilot. I may have been a pilot. He just goes, oh, nice shirt. And then he asked me something about jiu-jitsu. He didn't really know what it was, but he's like, hey, I know the Lord as well. And it's just like it gives someone I may as well say, ask me about Jesus on the front. But you get people that talk about it all the time. So was that kind of like the point behind the subtle marketing and the very, very straightforward marketing?
Yeah. No subtlety there. No. So along with founders of the ministry, so JP, Danelle, Stephen Little, Josh Strasberg, a bunch of other guys to help me out. We all worked together in the very beginning to get this thing going. And it was some of their idea to have Jesus be really big on the top, jiu-jitsu be really small, and it be kind of an emphasis on what's important in the whole thing. But man, from the beginning, it's been a massive, like, it just draws eyes. And like you said, in the airport or Costco or at the gas station or whatever, I mean, I get people all the time to come up and say the same thing, like, dude, that's cool. What's that about? Or my favorite question is, how do those two things go together? That's my favorite
Hey,
one.
I forget who said it because I would love to give them credit, but they were, and this should be a tagline for you guys, but it was like, choke them out and then pray for them.
Yeah, we were
I was
talking
just
about
like,
that the other day.
that's how you can explain it, how those two
man.
things weave in together.
That's right.
That's how we approach getting people closer to Jesus, is like pure humility first.
Yeah.
You know, and then as we wake them up, and like, oh, here, let me tell you about the gospel.
Brink a near death experience always brings people closer to the Lord. So.
Yeah, they kind of like come back to, and they're just like, oh, wow, okay, Jesus, let's talk about this Jesus fellow. But just to back up even a little bit, like for you guys, how long ago did y'all start Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu? How long ago was this the thing?
It was about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was kind of the impetus behind starting something like that? And then we should probably talk about your jiu-jitsu journeys as well. But it's like, because again, there's plenty of guys that are Christians that do jiu-jitsu, but there's nothing formal. And so like, you know, and we'll work our way to today to kind of like what you guys are doing. But like, what was even the reason behind getting launched?
Yeah. So I started training with Rafael Formiga Barbosa at Double Five Jiu-Jitsu, and he's phenomenal, 13-time world champion, Masters world champion, and became really good friends with guys that were training at the gym. Cramer was there at the gym. We became friends a little bit later, but those guys that I mentioned earlier, we all went to a men's ministry, like a retreat together called Pursuit, run by a ministry called Walking in Truth. And had an amazing experience where we felt close, like we really felt bonded through that weekend. It was a weekend of just like no technology, leaning into the Lord, doing hard spiritual work. And I would encourage people to go check them out. But we ended up at the end of that, we were like, how do we bring this same Christian fellowship into the jiu-jitsu community? Because it's lacking that depth of Christian fellowship. People are close in jiu-jitsu, and you know that. People are close in jiu-jitsu, but they are not. They're lacking that depth of Christian fellowship. And so we're like, how do we bring this formally? And so we're like, we need to start. So we actually like went through the process of making an actual 501c3 and incorporation and all that so that we could be legit and like be serious about getting it going. And so that's what started it. And then Cramer joined later on as there was a lot of like day-to-day responsibility stuff. But he had gotten saved really at one of these events at Walking in Truth, Pursuit for Truth. And then really, I mean, you know, he's a black belt and we trained together. And so we started leaning in together and and the broader group, you know, the board members really supported Cramer coming along with Lucas as well. You met Lucas on our podcast, but yeah, man. So that's kind of how it got started and got off the ground. But the intention was to bring this fellowship in. And then as we dug in deeper, it was like, there's a huge opportunity for evangelism and discipleship in Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu.
And so, I mean, what attracted you to this whole thing? Because, again, you have jujitsu as a hobby, and then you're a Christian now, and you're trying to figure out how those things work together. But then, like, formalizing that is still a unique thing.
Yeah, I mean, so I've trained jiu-jitsu now for 16 and a half years. Got my black belt about 3 years ago from Formiga. And God made himself so undeniably known through friends in the jiu-jitsu space, right? Like, they didn't know what I was going through in my life, but it was the 3 other founders of Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu that reached out to me on October 4th of 2022, inviting me to a men's freedom ministry event. I'm like, they didn't know that my life was falling apart, because everything on the outside was like, oh yeah, he's got it all put together. He's in shape. He's a black belt, married, kids, all these things. But they didn't know that I was on the verge of divorce and, dealing with porn addiction and all these other things. But God put me on their heart. I didn't know him from Adam. It was so informal, like of a friendship at the time, that they didn't have my cell phone number. I got an Instagram message from these 3 guys inviting me to this event. I was like, I got to do it. And God made himself just so known to me on that event. I got saved on November the 19th of 2022. Isaac was there for that. And when, so I saw how there was folks in the jiu-jitsu community that kind of brought me back to Jesus. We'll get more into testimonies and stuff later, I'm sure. But I just wanted to be a part of it. I was like, what can I do to help? And so for several months, just kind of played like an advisor role to Isaac. Man, I was the guy that he would call just to talk to and talk about new initiatives for the ministry and stuff. And then kind of stepped in a more formal role this year because I just felt called to do it. Like, I love jiu-jitsu, and now I also love Jesus far more than I do jiu-jitsu. And if I can help be the bridge between the jiu-jitsu community and getting those people to God's kingdom, like, send me. Let's go.
That's one of the things about this table. I feel like when people get into studio, I don't come prepared. Like, these are my notes, guys.
Yeah.
If you can see that right there on the camera, there's nothing on there. But I'm just curious for you, because I made the statement before, Ryan, that there are some guys I know that are just monsters. They're black belts in jiu-jitsu, but they're white belt husbands. Mm-hmm. They're white belt fathers. They're white belt, business owners, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And you can't crush it in all areas. You just can't. Mm-hmm. Not for real. You can do it on Instagram, but you can't do it for real. But like, for you, what was it? Because there's plenty of people that have, are on the road to divorce or have been divorced or have a pornography addiction, all those types of things. And it's just like, just the hand I was dealt, especially if you don't have a Christian worldview, especially if you don't even believe in God. We're just highly evolved chimps that figured out language, pants, and fire. And so why does it matter if, one chimp does something bad to another chimp? But I'm just wondering for you, like at that event in November of 2022, and we don't have to get into the theological logistics of, okay, did you make a decision or did the Holy Spirit hold you down against your will and make you become a Christian? But like, what was it about where you got to and the road to get there to make you surrender in all, senses of the word?
I think to that point, like, I had just done everything else to try to fix my own brokenness unsuccessfully. And it was coping mechanism after coping mechanism, and then realized that there's no other way for me to deal with the things that I'm dealing with than to give my life to Christ. I dealt with perfectionism most of my life. And so,
did you grow up around church?
I did. Yeah. Okay. Grew up, there was worship music played in our home. Dad read us Bible stories from like an encyclopedia type set. You did all the vacation Bible school stuff. And, to take words from Matt Chandler, I was a nominal Christian at best. If someone asked if I was Christian, I was that. But, I also thought that if I couldn't be the perfect Christian, then I wasn't going to be one at all. I think that the gospel, as it was presented to me as a kid, kind of growing up in Southwest Texas, Southern Baptist Bible Belt, like hell and damnation, it was just a bunch of rules, and I just had a rebellious spirit. And so didn't want that at all. Like, I didn't know that, being a Christian was more so about my own individual relationship with the Lord. I just thought it was a bunch of rules, and I wasn't much of a rule follower. And so for, 30 plus years, I ran from the Lord until there was nowhere to run.
Except to
him. Yeah. And so, that was it for me. And it was a drastic shift in just my mindset and being proud of who I am and who God made me to be, instead of faking my fruits, like actually trying to live them out in a true, genuine way. Because I knew enough about, growing up in the church, you know what the fruits are. Like, what a Christian should be, right? And like, what are the godly attributes? And especially in a public setting, I was really good at doing that. I faked my fruits my whole life. But there's also certain giftings that I think God had given me that I was ashamed of. You talk too much, or, you shouldn't care so much about what people think. And to an extent, I don't anymore. Like I would really just want to live my life through him, and glorify him in everything that I do. And it's really the group of friends that I've associated myself with now and that I'm brothers with since, for the last 3 years, that now when you have friendships forged in your relationship with Christ together, they're so different than the previous friendships I had in my life.
Oh, and just think about the testimony that you're going to have of all the pain and all the bad decisions and all the stuff that happened when you were a non-believer, but also you became a black belt. Your entire jiu-jitsu journey was as a non-believer. Whereas for me, I started my jiu-jitsu journey at 30 as a believer. And so I'm seeing all the corollaries for me as I'm going through the process now, 8 years in or something like that. So like Isaac, for you, I've never really heard your testimony as well, like kind of how, like what brought you to Christ and, much less into ministry.
Yeah. So I grew up, the power team.
Oh yeah.
So my dad was on the original power team. So my dad was the big Samoan.
Bending frying
bending
pans,
steel bars, breaking handcuffs, bending,
phone books,
slamming his head, slamming his head through concrete. So when I was a little kid, my dad was like not a good dude, in the strongest sense. He was a gangster. Like he was in a gang. He was incarcerated for assault and felony, grand theft auto. My dad was born in American Samoa and then moved to Hawaii when he was young, and so kind of grew up like in poverty there. Hawaii is like paradise, but there are parts of it that are really bad.
People really don't understand how, like, the further you get away from the coast, it gets dark.
Yeah, and there's like massive disparity between people that are wealthy and people that are struggling. And my dad was in that struggling group, grew up in government housing, one of 12 siblings. And they didn't have money. And so it was like way easier to kind of dive into that life of crime. And so that was my dad's testimony. And so I was probably 2 years old when my dad, who was a construction worker and doing drugs and, living a life of crime, had actually encountered Jesus for real. The short version there is my mom had prayed for him to come to Bible study for a long time. Every Wednesday she'd invite him to go and he would say no. And then he'd go play basketball at the rec center with, there'd be like 100 dudes up there running games all night. And he went up one night, she invited him. He said no. He went up to play basketball. There was no one there except for the janitor. And he's like, hey, so where is everybody? No one's here. Is it a holiday or something? No one showed up. So my dad leaves and he's like at this intersection. He could go right to go home or go left to the bank building where they had the Bible study upstairs. And he just said he sat at that light for a long time and felt for some reason that he needed to go to the Bible study, which is like counter to everything in him.
Yeah.
And he goes and he walks in the back door. And the version that I've heard from people who were there at the time is that they were like weeping, praying for my dad to come to know Christ. And he walks through the back door while they're praying for him. So it's like kind of an undeniable thing. So my dad gets radically saved. He turns away from that life, but he's still immersed in that, like everybody else, all his brothers and cousins, everybody's there. Shortly after that, someone from the power team comes out to do a crusade in Hawaii. They always do this, to call the biggest guy in the room to come try the baseball bat to prove that it's real. They can't break it ever. And then they give it back to the guy. The guy snaps it. Well, they call my dad up. My dad snaps it like right away. And they're like, oh, okay, well, thanks, buddy. Come see me after the program. So he starts asking him about his faith. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm a new believer. And the guy's like, man, well, you should come out to Texas. We're based in Texas. Come check us out. We'd love to get to know your story and, your walk. And so, cause my dad's like a massive dude, and he was starting to power lift and like my dad benched over 600 pounds. He's a freak. Well, so he comes out to Texas and ends up, they're like, we would really love to like, walk with you, disciple you and get you into ministry. Like you'd be great to evangelize. And so we moved from Hawaii. I was probably 5 or 6 years old, to Texas, to Irving is where they were based. And so I grew up around that. And so I knew the Bible and I grew up in a house with a dad that was radically saved, but, like obviously just like many people that grew up in church, they just didn't make it their own until, for me, it was like until college. Like I was 12 years old when I recognized the weight of my sin. I felt it for the first time. And I was on the bus, had a shirt that said, the wages of sin is death, Romans 6:23. And on the back said, but the gift of God is salvation, the gift of God is salvation in Jesus Christ. And so, this kid is asking me about my shirt and I'm like preaching the gospel to him. And like, as I'm saying it out of my own mouth, I'm like, I'm hearing it for the first time with like spiritual ears. Like my soul is hearing the truth that I'm saying, and I understand it. I just like start crying while I'm talking to this kid on the bus. Get off, go talk to my dad. Say, I don't know what I need to do, but I want to be saved, you know? So I say, I pray in my own words that I was a sinner. I needed him as my savior. I asked him to be my savior and my Lord. And I surrendered my life to Jesus that day. But I didn't understand like the full weight of that until I was a lot older. So college was when I really messed up. Storms came, played Division I football, broke my leg during a football game, medical redshirted my junior year, tried to come back my senior season, totally destroyed knee, started like falling into all of the comforts of the world that like kind of filled that void. Cause I never had a test until that time. And so, God just like showed me my sin, showed me that the foundation of my faith up to that point was kind of just shifting sand, was just a basis of sand. And when the storm came, the storm of this career-ending injury, I had nothing, no basis of faith that remained after that. And so had a really awesome mentor, a pastor, this little old Pastor Mike Woods in El Paso, Texas, probably almost close to 70 years old, probably 140 pounds, soaking wet. But when he talked to me like he was 10 feet tall. And he just looked right into my soul and would ask me questions that like would make anybody cringe, you know, about your sin, about like living as a testimony. Amen. So that's what kind of started bringing me back to the path. And so, yeah, it was a long journey. Gave my life to Christ at 12 years old, but didn't really understand it until I was probably 24, you know.
Hey guys, real quick. So you're there, you're in a small town, you've been invited over to someone's house for dinner. You walk through the kitchen and you get that smell, the smell of home cooking. You go to the back porch where they're grilling or smoking meat and you get that smell, and then you get the taste. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, guys. It tastes incredible. The flavors are big and bold. It feels like home and it feels like happiness, right? Well, you try to pull that same thing off at your house, but all you have in your cabinet are some random seasonings from the store, right? And many of these big companies just make bland blends, and we all know this by now. Bland blends lead to bland food, and bland food leads to a bad food experience. And I don't want you guys to have any bad food experiences. That's why I want to remind you about my friends at G's Seasoning. G's Seasoning is a small, family-owned and operated seasoning company from a small town in rural Texas. The recipe for their flagship all-purpose seasoning has been passed down in their family, and now they're passing it on to you. And I've used G's all-purpose seasoning on beef, pork, wild game. It's really, really awesome on elk, by the way. Chicken, fish, eggs, veggies, and yes, the daddy hack of all daddy hacks, popcorn. And also, I'm super, super pumped for this. They have a brand new seasoning out now, salt and pepper blend. So it's a classic seasoning duo, right? But G's has leveled it up. So G's salt and pepper blend uses 2 different grains of top shelf flake salt and 2 different grinds of hand-cracked black pepper to give you the bold flavor you're looking for. And I've used it so far on brisket and burgers, and dude, amazing. So throw out all of your bland big box store seasonings. Support a small town American family business by going to gsseasoning.com. That's gsseasoning.com. And guys, if you're looking for a stocking stuffer for this Christmas season, these bottles fit really well into your average stocking. So guys, get a case of them. Give them out to all your family members. Give them out to all the people at the office. Again, that's gsseasoning.com. That's golfsierraseasoning.com. Order today. So it's an interesting dynamic between the two of you, because you come to Christ as a youngin', but you kind of go through what I've called like delayed sanctification,
right?
To where you just kind of lived on the largesse of the decision, and then, you know, didn't really hit the skids until you hit some, you know, resistance or turbulence in your life. And for you, there was really kind of no regard for it. You probably were living, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Sonora, out in Southwest Texas.
Okay. And so like what I've deemed country music theology, which is basically like believe in God. I was baptized when I was a kid. You know, I listened to 90s country music, and when I vote Republican. So, you know, God's pro, all that stuff. So I get to go to heaven, right? And so you coming to Christ much later in life, right? Your brain's fully developed. Like you're an expert.
That's questionable.
Well, you know, a few too many shots to the head, but like, you know, your brain's fully developed and you are fully aware of yourself. Like at your age, right? You're aware of where you're lacking, the things that you are good at, the things that are going to be areas of struggle. Like there's no question, right?
Yeah.
Whereas for you, you're developing as a Christian at the same time as you're developing as a man.
Yep.
And then you get hit in the face by reality in your early 20s.
Yep.
Right. And so, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things like when God brings, people together and brings different men together of disparate things, like there's a lot people can learn just from having like different testimonies.
Bro,
You know what I mean?
100%. He and like he was talking about, I'd call him, ask him for his perspective on stuff. He's a couple years older than me, but he has so much experience in areas that I don't. And man, we were like, he's become one of my best friends in the world, but I've always leaned on him. And he's just like the perfect complement to that. And we've been able to help each other in that way. And he was way far ahead of me in jiu-jitsu too when we first met. And so now we're like, he would always help me with that too. So we just really, built on each other. So it's discipleship, jiu-jitsu, back and forth.
Yeah, and Isaac's somebody, like I remember meeting him for the first time, just thinking like, I want to be friends with this guy. I mean, the way he carried himself, he was obviously a gentle giant, which you love.
I haven't experienced the gentle part yet, but keep going.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
It's so gentle and athletic and not fair at the same time. Isaac was just somebody that like I met. I was like, I want to be friends with this guy, but I was so afraid of like hanging out with Christian men, right? I didn't want to get exposed. So I strategically planned my friendships or my meetups around the type of men people were, right? And it was like I was normally the more comfortable setting was for me to be with a group of guys that were like dealing with the same stuff that I was dealing with, right? Like we just get together and talk crap about our wives and get drunk and smoke weed and do all these things that, that's what we did together. And as I started immersing myself more in this culture of things, I think, kind of piggybacking on your podcast with us, you talked about when you were 15, right? This fork in the road of I can either be godly or I can be tough. And I didn't know a lot of like godly tough men growing up, right? Similar to you. And I know we've talked about that before. And so it was just like so baffling and eye-opening to me that you have these men like Isaac, like JP Donnell, like Stephen Little, like Josh Strasburger, Anthony Krantz, all these guys that had gone to pursuit. And I just saw like the love, like the true, like easy to love nature that they had, but then they were also tough as hell. I hadn't been around that before. And so I kind of got the tough part out of the way, but I didn't understand the godly part. And I didn't know that you could be both. Right. And so Isaac was kind of like, I don't know, the first example of that to me of like, yeah, he's easy, he's hard to kill, but he's so easy to love. And he's definitely equipped to lead. Like, I want to be around this guy. I want to learn more from this guy. And so he's been as much of a mentor and disciple to me as anybody over the last 3 years. And has helped me along the way. And you're right. Our stories are so different. Like, I think where, the value that I can bring to a lot of people is more so in my struggle, more so in my testimony, in the dark things and the times and the stupid stuff that I've done to create that relatability while also now trying to learn God's word, right? This guy studied it for most of his life. He's kind of who I go to like, hey, break this down for me, like help me understand this a little bit more. But, ultimately, I think we're a fun team.
Yeah.
Can offer different perspectives on life. And then, jiu-jitsu is really just the catalyst, right? It's like we all enjoy doing it. And it's so nice to see what God is doing in the jiu-jitsu community and that we have been humbled enough to put in, where he's put us in positions to help bring people to his kingdom through the sport of jiu-jitsu. It's baffling. If you told me 16 and a half years ago that I'd ever be involved in a ministry around the sport of jiu-jitsu, I'd tell you, you're crazy. Like, there's no chance. Yeah, I'll still be training jiu-jitsu, and I'm going to be a Christian? Like, no, I didn't see how.
The cool thing about what you guys have done with even with your divergent stories is it's trying to live out the lion for them, lamb with them aspect, right? And I think jiu-jitsu is one of those things that help guys deal with that. Because what I tell people all the time, and like I'm a walking billboard for gospel of Jesus Christ, Christian metal, red meat, jiu-jitsu. Like those are the things where, every single conversation is going to come back to one of those four things, if not all of them. And ultimately, most people don't really reckon with how a hobby could affect their life spiritually, mentally, and physically, right? And so, because I've heard all the excuses to why someone can't train and why they shouldn't train and all those different things. But then when somebody does start training and whatever the switch is gets flipped. So for some people, it's like, oh, they got an ego problem. And all of a sudden that gets exposed. Yep. And then they have to reckon with that. It's like, okay, I'm either going to have to walk back in. Because we've had some guys that play in the NFL come to our gym, get smashed by a small jiu-jitsu fighter that's not in particularly good shape. And then that moment's like, okay, I'm either going to walk out of here and pretend like that never happened and not tell anyone about it, or I'm going to figure out what's going on here.
Yep.
Or they get in and they get, overpowered and they realize, oh, I'm a little weak, or, they, aren't as flexible as they used to be or what they thought they were. And so, okay, I got something to work on here. Or their cardio is not really where it should be. They're cardio tapping, which is not ever an acceptable form of tapping, for the record. But like, it exposes so many things about you that is applicable everywhere else. And because, I give people crap that golf and, do all these other different hobbies. And it's like, I have so little time, like in my schedule with the business and the 2 podcasts and the 5-year-old and the 3-year-old and like all the things. I have to have things that are transferable. Yeah. Skills that I'm developing have to be transferable. 100%. So like the time I take to be in shape and to lift and all that, that's transferable to the rest of my life.
Yep.
I can't transfer the skill set of chipping a ball into the green from 150 yards away. Like that's okay. Like that's only transferable to another golf course, right? Whereas, being confident in your physicality and your ability to protect yourself, protect others.
Yep.
It's just something that gets exposed. And there are people that can just walk out and, make a basket or, throw a football. And like, yes, you can get better at it, but nobody just walks out on a jiu-jitsu mat and just does it well the first time. Nobody accidentally triangles somebody after double legging them. Like it just doesn't ever happen. No. And so it's just like, I guess for you guys, like what got y'all into jiu-jitsu? Cause you obviously had a football background. Like what was your athletic background? Oh my gosh.
College golf, dude.
No, I know. That's why I said it. That's why I said it. I wanted to bring it in.
Straight hate.
No, I said athletic background, right? That's a cute little game.
No, I didn't have, look, I grew up playing all the sports, baseball, football, golf is a sport, ran cross country. So I've always been very physically active. But I was the small guy too. I was the runt of the litter, man. My nickname in high school was Slick because I was the last one of all my friends to hit puberty. You know what I mean? Like I was the little guy. I graduated high school like 5'6", 115 pounds. So we talked about this recently that like, jiu-jitsu for you was humbling. Like your first experience at Machado's, like getting rolled up by a guy that was half your size and you're like, I'm going to dominate this dude. And then he smoked you and you're like, you needed that humbling. For me, jiu-jitsu, like I was used to kind of getting my butt whooped. Yeah. Right. So jiu-jitsu was more empowering because then you learned how to like get out of things. Like if anybody was to come sit on my chest and like bang on my sternum or give me a noogie, I couldn't do anything about it. And so for the first time in my life, I found something that was somewhat empowering for me physically. Like I could go bang golf balls all day and hit my drive a long way. And that was like a sense of like, I don't know, macho in at least the group of people that I hung out with.
That was
like,
impressive
oh
to
man,
them.
God, you hit the ball a long way, right? But jiu-jitsu was empowering for me. And so when I started training, it was like it opened up this new sense of confidence about myself that I didn't have. And I got a whole lot more self-aware and self-confident through the sport of jiu-jitsu.
And it's earned confidence.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
You know what
I mean? There's no faking that. Like I mentioned before, faking my fruits. You can't fake anything in jiu-jitsu. Nope. Like it's exposed right away. So in addition to it being empowering to me, there was this cute girl working at the front desk of Octagon MMA when I joined. I married her. So that was part of the reason for me joining the gym too, is because I liked the girl that was working the front desk. My wife was in her, last semester of nursing school, hanging out with a bunch of MMA people and I met her and really dove into that relationship and also into the sport of jiu-jitsu. And I haven't really looked back since on either of those. So yeah, jiu-jitsu was.
So what age did you start?
26.
26. Okay.
I'm old.
And when did you get it? Well, dude, I started at 30. I remember like before I got started, I was probably 28 or 29. And like, I was kind of circling the wagons on starting with jiu-jitsu and I just didn't really know, like, where do I go? What do I do? And I remember Jocko was on Twitter and he was like sitting at the airport or something. He's like, all right, I got some time here. Let's do Q&A. And I tweeted at him. I said, what age is too late to start doing jiu-jitsu if black belt is your goal? Again, a silly question for a lot of different reasons, but again, I don't really know. And his response was one word: death. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Because I'm like, I'm 30 and I'm, you kind of already feel old because you're 30 and 30-year-olds when I was a kid, like they were basically elderly. And so like, starting at 30, I was like, oh my gosh. But I mean, after a few years of training, I'm like, what if I'd started when I was 18? Like, can you imagine like what I
know.
would be like? I just turned 39. Like if I had been training for the, basically half my life or whatever. But so what age, or I guess what got you into jiu-jitsu? You said your first experience was at Machado's?
No. So my first, it was actually in Hawaii. I was leading worship at a church in Hawaii in 2015. And
you can sing too?
Yeah, not anymore.
Is there anything this dude can't do? What do you mean not anymore?
Well,
That's not
I
like
have
a thing.
like soft tissue damage from like asthma medicine over years. And
you can't eat only a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Just a little bit. We get your little guitar. You could probably play the little, what's
They're
that
called
thing
ukuleles.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But so I was in Hawaii at the time and I was leading worship at this church. And my supervisor at the church was like, he was a brown belt. He'd been training for 10 years, something like that. And he was about, I was like 25. He was 42. I was 280. He was 180 pounds. And like, he would always invite me to come train. Like, I think you'd be great. I think you would love it. Like, you'd find fulfillment. And he was just he was right about everything. But he's like, I teach these guys at my house on Wednesday nights, come hang out. So I finally went to go hang out. And I wasn't I'm telling you, this was not coming from, now I can see there's probably pride in it. But I had this idea of myself as like, I was a Division I football player. I know I could
D-tackle?
Yeah. Nose guard. Yeah. I set the bench record at UTEP. It's still there. I was like, I think this guy will at least be impressed. Like I could backflip over this guy if I want to. And he like just calmly pulled me into his close guard. And I was like pushing on him and he Kimura'd me. And I was like, what the? And then he triangled me and then he armbarred me and then he Kimura'd me again. And this time I thought, I'm not going to let him put it behind my back. I'm going to muscle it forward. And so I started muscling it forward and I felt this like hot searing pain in my forearm, ended up tearing something there.
Yeah.
And so I tapped for the 4th time in 3 minutes and I was like, I couldn't breathe. He wasn't even sweating and he wasn't even out of breath at all. And I was like, how did you do that? Like you completely destroyed me. I felt helpless. I weigh 100 pounds more than you. I could throw you through the ceiling if I wanted to, but I couldn't do anything to you.
Yeah.
And so just like you said, you hit this fork in the road where you're like, okay, that was embarrassing. I never want that to happen again. I'm out of here. Or that was embarrassing. I never want it to happen again. I want to learn what you know. That was awesome. And so I took that route and was like, I'm really interested in this now. Plus I destroyed my knee and I couldn't run anymore. So I wanted to do something competitive. Powerlifting was kind of off the table because of my knee, because there's no, totally bone on bone, destroyed the cartilage, femur. And so jiu-jitsu was like, oh, you can get great cardio, but you're not running all over the place. Like, okay, this is awesome. So that's what got me into it. Then he told me, I moved to Texas shortly after that, moved back to Texas. And he's like, bro, if you're going to move back to the Dallas area, you should go train at Carlos Machado's. So I would drive like 50 minutes down to Carlos's on Midway. And man, it was amazing. So I trained there for a year. And yeah, of course, first day I got rolled up and again, by small guys.
Was it all gi?
It was all gi. Yeah. I got smothered by a dude, this big purple belt. He was probably 6'5", like 270. And he just like moved to north-south and just like put his chest right on my face. And I was like, I'm dying. It was my second day. I'm like tapping right away. And he's kind of like giggling. I'm like, what? He's like, you don't do that.
That's not a move.
I'm like, what? Like, bro, but I was going to die. He was like, no, you're not going to die. A couple months later, I remember like kind of having that moment of realization that like I'm making progress because you don't feel like it at all. I'm just getting hammered every day. And same guy, same position. And I remember being in the same position and not thinking I'm dying, thinking about a way to get out of this and frame and maybe turn my head a little bit and breathe. And I caught myself in the moment like, bro, it's working. Like there is progress in this. Like 3 months ago, you were in the same spot and you thought you were going to die. And so, dude, it was cool. Yeah.
My favorite, y'all know Tyler Murrah. So shout out Tyler Murrah, Scrap City Jiu-Jitsu, Midwest City. He's trained a lot in Texas.
Yeah.
Marcus Adelante, and I think he's come over to Formigas. And so for the first, when I started, Tyler was a purple belt when I started, and we're about the same size.
Yep.
So he's, maybe an inch taller than me, maybe he's 10 or 15 pounds bigger than me, but we were essentially the same size. And so he kind of gravitated towards me and this other guy because I guess he looked at us as like, well, there's a body that I could do things on. That's going to be roughly the size of the people I'll be competing with. And so, I drilled and trained with him a bunch in those first few years. And it was either right before I got my blue belt or right after I got my blue belt. I just have a bad practice. I don't know if I talked about this on y'all's show or not, but it's one of my favorite Tyler Murrah stories, aside from him very, very rudely taking a water break while we were still rolling and reaching off and getting him a drink of water and setting it down the whole time I'm trying to escape. Super rude.
Yeah.
But I had a horrible practice, right? I just got smashed by everybody. Nothing I tried worked. And it was one of those practices where the black belt shows you how to do the move. You try the move once and you go, well, that doesn't work. Like that's, was the state of mind I was in, right? And so I'm brooding in the locker room as I'm changing and I'm just brooding or whatever. And Tyler, who's very quiet and somewhat unassuming, he kind of walks in and he goes, hey, Kyle, what's going on? And I'm like, I had bad practice and nothing I was doing was working. And I just don't know if I'm getting any better and blah, blah. And he goes, hey, what would you do to the Kyle from 6 months ago if you rolled with him? I'm like, what? He's like, no, seriously. Like, what would you do to you from 6 months ago? I was like, well, I'd kill that guy.
Yeah.
He goes, then shut up.
Yeah.
He goes, we're all getting better.
Yeah.
He's like, you've gotten a lot better over the last 6 months, but you're going against a bunch of dudes that have also gotten a lot better over the last 6 months.
True.
So deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, buck up, buttercup, like life stuff, get a helmet. It was just kind of one of those moments to where it's just like, okay, that kind of put things into perspective. And y'all know this being a double five, but being at the Forge, you feel like you suck until you roll with someone from another academy.
100%.
And you're like, oh no. Because like I've walked into places in Texas and Utah and Louisiana, and I'll roll with people that are supposed to be on my level according to belt and, the whole, system that they have set in place and all that. And you're just like, oh no. Like if this person were at my school, they would be the person at that belt where everyone's just kind of like, yeah, he's not really at that belt. And like at the Forge, they don't really do lifetime achievement belts, right? Oh, you've been training here for about 8 years. It's probably about time we give you your purple belt. Like that's just not really something that happens. But yeah, it's just like all those life lessons that you get just from getting into something. But I mean, here's the thing for you guys, athletes, working, well at a job, married, kids and all that. Why didn't you quit during the blue belt blues? Because I've seen people get their blue belt and then they don't train anymore because they're like, okay, I got my blue belt, which is the gap between blue and purple is probably the longest, but white to blue should probably be the second longest, I would think.
Yep.
But then you also have people, I know a lot of friends that got their purple belts and basically stopped training. Yeah. Because they're like, I'm good enough. Ain't nobody whipping me in a street fight kind of a thing.
I'm over the blue belt blues. Right. So no one's going to accuse me of that.
Yeah. So you got your brown belt. You're knocking on the door of black belt. You've been a black belt for 3 years. And so you're technically second degree, right?
I'll be first degree this year.
Okay. First degree.
I think in like a month or two.
So first degree black belt. So why not just stop? Because I've heard all the reasons why people train for a year or two or 5.
Yep.
And then we're just like, good enough.
Yeah.
Why not stop?
Have you ever even thought about it? Why you didn't stop? Was it just like,
it's funny. I've stopped a couple times, man. I trained almost religiously for the first couple years. So 2009 through 2011, kind of had a falling out with my coach, stepped off the mats for a couple years, stepped back on the mats, was on the mats for like another 6 months, got my purple belt, was upset and like my ego got in the way of that and didn't think I deserved it. So I quit training jiu-jitsu because I thought it was just like a gift of a belt. Just because I beat up the other blue belts didn't mean I should be a purple belt. So I stepped away from it again. It's when I moved to Tokyo for a job in January of 2018. I hadn't trained in a couple years. But I knew that jiu-jitsu was a place that I could probably make friends. Because if you know anything about the Japanese business culture, there's no like 30-something-year-old execs in Japan, right? Yeah. But I'm over there working in this position and had no like common ground with any of the guys that I was working with at all. It's like, I need jiu-jitsu to maybe go make some friends. And so I did. So jiu-jitsu was like very much about the community that I needed. And then once I got a brown belt, I was like, I can't quit now. Like I just have to keep going. For me, it was always just like, I needed that community, and jiu-jitsu provided that to me and it provided the doing hard things. I've had a chip on my shoulder athletically for probably most of my life, like being the small guy, like I was going to out hustle everybody at everything. Right. And so in jiu-jitsu, I kind of got good fast because of just like that attitude about it. Like I will out try most of the people that I train with. Not as much now. I think I kind of chill out sometimes.
Well, no, like you're bringing up something interesting because I know some guys, I remember I was a white belt rolling with a purple belt that was about my size. And we were in a round where I think we were doing 5-minute rounds and he had about 4.5 minutes worth of cardio and I had 5+. Mm-hmm. And so I just wore him out, not knowing anything, but I just wore out certain positions to where I got the better of him toward the end of the round. So I think scoring wise, I still would have lost the round or whatever. But I remember because he was a really quiet guy, like veteran. And he posted on Facebook later that day. He's like, it is so awesome to go into a class and to get outworked by a white belt. And he tagged me in it. And he was like basically giving me my flowers a little bit. It's my boy Aldo. And he just was like, yeah, man, I got outworked. And so I kind of got exposed a little bit. I thought I could kind of rest in my purple belchness, right? But I just kind of got exposed a little bit. But I mean, that's the thing about jiu-jitsu. Like belts are not magical. They are dyed pieces of fabric, right? That are woven together that you put around a, pair of danger pajamas. Like it doesn't mean anything. And if you go in there with an ego, like I remember we have a guy at our gym, his name's Ethan. I think he's going to be a world champion someday. He just kind of has, that attitude and that work ethic and the personality for it. And I'm in purple belt. He's a white belt. I take his back and I get lazy because white belt. So I just cross my ankles while I've got his back. He immediately throws a leg up and he starts cranking on the ankle. And I've got a decision to make. Okay. I can tap and, tap to a white belt as a purple belt, which should not happen, especially when I got like 30 pounds on him and all that type of thing. Or I can limp out of here, right? Because he had it. I was dead to rights, right? I could have not tapped, and then I eventually, get something snapped, something, whatever. So I tap immediately. I smile and I go, damn, you got me. I got lazy, didn't I? And he didn't know what to say, really, because he was good even as a white belt.
Yeah.
But those are the lessons you learn, because if that had happened at white belt, I'm probably limping out of there.
Oh, dude.
Because the ego would not have let me tap. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you just kind of get to learn that. But I mean, for you, like, why not stop at some point? Because you can be like, you can always say I was a D1 football player. Hey, I used to bench a whole lot. Or, hey, I'm still athletic or whatever. But you can get to a certain position to where you're like, oh, I'm good.
True.
Whatever else I can learn, I can make up with size and tan, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And great looks.
Well, I didn't say that. I just said size and tan.
I'm saying
you're
that.
adding
He's
that to
filling
the
in the
list?
gaps.
No,
Yeah.
it's my table. I make the list of attributes.
Well, I mean, the reality was that I think maybe, I don't know, it's just being honest, but also football. I think just being in a locker room with a bunch of other dudes that you're always competing to try to be the best person, you like get to where you're brutally honest with yourself, because you're constantly like, that dude could take my spot. That dude could take my spot, And so being like brutally honest about your own capability and ability makes you like, that's one of the reasons why I didn't stop at blue belt, because I just knew I wasn't the best. And I knew that if I kind of like rested on my laurels, and I'm going to be in a position in a couple months where everybody that I train with right now is way better than me, because I chilled. The other thing was David, he's sitting off camera. He was my coach for 8 years. One of my best friends, but he was good about hitting me up. Hey bro, I'm going to pick you up. Let's go to open mat at Star in Carrollton, like a bunch of crazy black belts and wrestlers. And let's go over here. We're going to drop in at this school. And like, we would just go like, dojo storm places and, just test ourselves against a bunch of people. And we did competitions, and we would go to comp training all the time. That's how we met Tyler Murrah. Yeah. We go to comp training at Marcus Antalante's every Tuesday. And then all those guys at Marcus's would come over to Formigas on Thursday. And we just got in the habit of that. And once I just got in the groove of it, I started to become like, I didn't feel right unless I was kind of in that environment, just felt like these are my people. This is what I do. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. And I guess it just felt weird to like leave it on the back burner. I took breaks. It was only because I was forced to through injury, or my son was born 6 weeks early when I was a white belt. I had to take 9 months off. And when I got back to it was just like, unless I'm forced to take a break, I don't want to take one.
Well, we were literally, before y'all got here, I was talking to Ryan because of travel and sickness, I've been off the mats for like 2 weeks.
Yep. And
I'm sitting here, we're supposed to be going in tomorrow and enrolling people. And I'm sitting here like, do I remember how to jiu-jitsu? Because like, I just don't, once you get in there, you warm up and you're like, all right, I remember how to do all these things. But the thing about the jiu-jitsu journey as well that I've noticed, because again, looking back, looking at brown belt and kind of looking back at when I started and what I thought I was good at the time and kind of what I've seen myself develop. I remember feeling entitled to my blue belt when I got it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, I was probably this, I've probably been this for a while.
Yeah.
And then I remember a couple of weeks before purple belt, someone asked me, hey, Kyle, do you think you'll be getting because some schools don't do stripes. And at my school at the time, the stripe system was kind of random, right? So like I had 4 stripes on my white when I got my blue, but I had 1 stripe on my blue when I tested for purple, right? So I literally told someone, I was like, dude, I'm closer to white belt than I am to purple belt. And then we get to promotion night, and everyone's supposed to show up for promotion night, because even if you're not getting promoted, you need to, help with the, the gauntlet. And they call my name for promotion. I was like, oh no. I was like, no, I'm not that. Like I can't, there's no way, but there's no time to really think about it. And a couple weeks before that, I had popped my rib.
Yep.
And so like I basically could only sit in bottom half guard and like protect my midsection. I couldn't shoot. I couldn't throw. Like I couldn't really sweep anybody. So it was basically survival for a couple of hours.
Yep.
And I'll remember this, Tyler Murray is getting all of his flowers on this particular thing. So typically, they'll line all the people up that have gone through promo night, and then they'll start with the blues and work all the way up to the black belts and whatever. And so, they call your name, you go up, and everyone's clapping while the main professor is, putting on your belt or whatever. And then they send you back and they give you another clap or whatever. Well, I come up there, I get my clap, and, as I'm getting my belt tied around me, Tyler does a little speech, and he goes, something along the lines, I'll show you the video. I still got it on my phone, but it's like, I love training with Kyle. He always gets in here. He always gets after it. He's always super, super competitive and has a good attitude and all that. And cause I didn't tell him when my ribs were messed up, right? The black belts knew, but I didn't tell him when my ribs were all completely jacked. And he goes, and he got in here tonight and he's scrapped and his ribs are all mushed up and all that type of thing. And he still got in here and like earned his belt. And I love this guy. I'm proud of him. And I was just kind of like, he loves me. Like, I just kind of like had that feeling, but you learn so much about yourself because now you get your purple belt and you know what you thought about purple belts when you started.
Yep.
That's like purple belt was a billion miles away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then now you are one. And then I know a lot of friends that stopped at purple belt. Then when I got my brown belt, I was like, oh no, this is a disaster, right? Because the imposter syndrome seemingly only grows, right? Because now with every belt, there's the reverence you get from other people on the mat, but also the expectation. And then you got that collegiate wrestler white belt, right? That sees that piece of dyed fabric on your waist and is like, I'm going to get this one, right? Or that, overzealous blue belt competitive guy and all that. He's like, okay, this guy's got a couple stripes on his brown belt. He's about to get my IBJJF finals competition round or something like that. But it's just, that's the thing about jiu-jitsu is it's constantly a check. And you never arrive. Like one of our guys, Steve Jones, who's kind of my main professor now, I train with him more than just about anybody. He got his black belt and then started learning leg lock stuff. So he was a black belt, had been training for over a decade. And then Austin Morris came to our academy during 2020 COVID as a brown belt, but a leg lock specialist.
Another stud.
And now all of a sudden, all of our black belts are going backwards. And, Steve was like, look, when I got my black belt, I felt like I was a white belt again. Which doesn't make sense to somebody outside. Imagine a CEO that just gets the job of CEO and he's like, I feel like an intern again. Like that wouldn't make any sense, right? But that's just one of the things that you don't really understand unless you get into the jiu-jitsu journey, because at every step of the way, you can kind of see those milestones behind you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's such a parallel to faith too. I'm seeing like this is new to me that I'm seeing like and Matt talks about it all the time. Matt Chandler, our good friend, our pastor, he does talk about how many parallels there are and how it's something that's unique in how many ties there are to jiu-jitsu. To faith. But I'm seeing it in like as I start to lead more stuff, like I'm discipling more people. I mean, Kyle, like Dominion Men, you're one-on-one with people. That's a different. I also teach jujitsu now. Like I taught jujitsu for years with David, and then I started teaching for Formiga recently, once a week on Wednesdays. And it like you get leveled up to something new, and you all of a sudden you feel like brand new again.
Yep.
Same thing with discipleship. Someone's looking to you for like, hey, how do you interpret this, or what do you do when you come up against this, or what does the Bible say about this? It's like you're put in a new position, and it does kind of feel like imposter syndrome a little bit, but. I think the way to alleviate that over time is like you get more comfortable in the belt that you're in. I feel, how long have you been a brown belt now? About
year and a half.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're probably the same.
Yeah.
And I feel okay here. I'm starting to feel okay here. I don't like that we're this close to black belt.
No.
I do feel comfortable now as a brown belt. Like I'm cool.
Shut
with
up,
that.
Ryan.
Like,
it's terrifying.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm just like really comfortable in my brown belt, but like I didn't feel that day one, and it's cool to see like, but just as I've grown in my knowledge of that and started to be like, no, I am this, and I can show that I have this amount of skill, and then I've settled into that. But I think that, man, just the parallel again, as you ratchet up, there's just always this starting over thing that happens.
Let's look at the Christian life. So, I picked this up from somebody else, but it's like, it's not how many years you've been a Christian, it's how many hours. And so the more hours you've been a Christian, the more depraved you realize you are, and the more sweet the gospel is, right? Because you're just like, holy cow, God sent his son to this planet to die for me, this wretched, black-hearted, horrible, selfish sinner. Like, and so you understand it more. But like with jiu-jitsu, people get more humble at each belt, which seems odd. Yeah, and you have your outlier guys that get their black belts and they love to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, but most guys, like the baddest dudes at our gym, are the least assuming.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And so here's the thing. It helps that a tiger has stripes, right? Because that's like nature's signal of like, hey, I could kill you. That's what cauliflower is, right? That is like our way of saying like, hey, you don't get this from doing your taxes. You had to go through some stuff to get these cauliflower ears. But the baddest dudes at our gym don't have cauliflower. They don't have crooked noses. Like, they don't have neck tattoos. They don't, like, they're not the ones at the bars poking people in the chest, like saying, hey, do you want to test yourself? You're like, it's none of that. These are the guys that would be the least likely to fight.
Yep.
But if they do, they're going to finish it.
Yep.
Right. And also they would be the guys that even in the fight, they would be the guy that would be calm enough to choke someone out and to lay their head down softly on the concrete as opposed to just dumping them on the ground.
Yep.
And people don't really understand that.
No.
That, hey, how can you get more and more experience and exposure? How can you get better and better at this thing and not grow in your ego? And I think it's because you constantly get your butt whooped.
Yep.
I mean, if your name's not Gordon Ryan or Andre Galvao, it's like, okay, because those guys could go years without getting tapped, right? When's the last time John Jones got tapped? Right. I mean, you know, realistically.
Right.
But for everybody else, for all of us mere mortals, we're going to walk into a room one day at whatever level we're at, and we're just going to be the nail.
Yep.
Right. I have classes where I walk out being like, I am God's gift to this sport. Man, aren't they so lucky that I started doing this? And there's other nights where I'm like, I want to pretend like the last 2 hours of my life was not real because people saw me. I was definitely there, but nothing jiu-jitsu related happened. It didn't happen from me. It happened to me the entire time, you know?
Yeah. I've been there, man.
It's crazy to think you can do something this long and still get your butt whooped. Like, well, you must not be very good. No, you just don't understand the quality of the training partners we have. It's like, I mean, Formiga can make me look like a white belt some days. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's awful. Like, what am I doing?
But the levels are so preposterous.
Oh, yeah. And that's the deal. Like, once you get a black belt, like my first black belt competition was just a handful of months after I got my black belt. I signed up for, I think it was IBJJF Waco. First guy in. Right? Like, hadn't been a black belt before. So I was the lowest ranked black belt competitor in my division. This was like Masters 3 heavyweight. And I pulled the number 1 seed. First match. Like, oh gosh. Well, I used to train with the guy. So I knew a little bit about his game. Big, tall, like long, like 6'5", like huge heavyweight. But I took him down. I passed his guard and I won on points. Okay, cool. So then now there's a little bit of swagger going into the next couple matches, right? So win the next match, and then in the finals, lost via ref decision. No points, no advantages. We literally just sat there like jerking on each other's gi for 5 minutes, whatever. And after that match, guy, comes up, shakes my hand, and he's like, "Hey man, great match." Like, so how long you been a black belt? I was like, "Oh, just like a couple months." He's like, "Dude, it's awesome." What about you? It's like 14 years. Oh, okay. But like that's where like you feel like you're starting over at black belt because you are. Now you're in a pool of black belts that have done this for ever.
And that's
especially
the part.
And getting into it later in life, like, at 43 years old, I've been a black belt 3 years. There's guys that I would compete against that have been a black belt for 20 years. And there are levels to this game.
Yeah, man.
And it is humbling when you get to roll with one of those guys.
Right.
But it just makes you keep showing up. Like, how is that not motivating to you? If you've gotten this far and know that like you can also help bring up the next generation of people too. That's where like jiu-jitsu's changed so much for me, especially like later brown belt, black belt days. It's like, I enjoy the training. I enjoy going hard with my buddies. There's guys that you can slap hands like we're going to war. Tunde, Isaac, Anthony Krantz, Formiga. Like there's guys that I know, okay, like I'm going to bring it. I got to be in shape. They're in shape. We're going to go hard with each other. But other than that, it's like, it's really just nurturing the other guys in the gym. And so like my purpose for jiu-jitsu has changed so much. It's not about me. And I don't know if I think it was for a good period of time. It was more about me. And like, I would probably like maybe keep tally marks in the car of
like who you beat,
who I tapped out and how many times I tapped versus tapping people out and stuff. And then that changed. And especially as like you're leaning into these young guys in our gym now, like, I'm really just more about helping people. Like it's not uncommon to see both of us sitting on the mat after training in the morning, like helping guys
For a
through.
long time.
Yeah. Like just like we're there for another hour sometimes.
Yep.
Just like, here, let me help you. Let me help you.
Yep.
When you want to share that knowledge, like, so the half guard pass I showed you on the floor right before we got in here, there's a few things, like there's a half guard pass. I have a mount escape. I have some open guard passes. I have some things that like are just my bread and butter. And I'll see someone struggle in a particular position. And then I'll be like, let me give you this gift.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
let me give you at your white belt something I wish someone had given me a white belt. Cause there were certain positions. So like full guard, right? So, you know, you're in a guy's full guard. And most people are like, okay, they're grabbing the pants. They're scooching out this way. They're trying to push the hip into the triangle as they push away. And their legs are just supposed to come apart. Unless they're a freak beast or a strong person or, just a very experienced person. And then they just like recenter and then, okay, I'm just going to do it again. And then recenter. And then you start trying to dig your elbows into their thighs as a jerk and all that. It just doesn't work. And like, I'm 5 years into training. I got my purple belt and one of my coaches goes, hey, how about you just stand up? Hey, stand up. So now I'm standing up and I'm letting gravity help them kind of shake down. And okay, now I'm splitting my legs out in an athletic stance and now I'm pushing out. Now the guard's done.
Yep.
And to be able to, oh my gosh, why didn't y'all show us that when I had been training for 5 months as opposed to 5 years? And the gift that you can give to somebody. Like I remember there was a guy, it was during our last promo thing. He was getting his blue belt. And I remember a couple months before I had showed him my open guard pass, right? Because it's a quick thing that Austin Moore showed me, where you're kind of pivoting on the leg and going around. And he did it during promo night or something. I think it was promo night. It may have been just regular practice. It doesn't really matter. And I'm watching from the sideline and I felt like a proud father. I'm like, because I watched him do it and he did it perfectly. The timing was perfect and all that. And he hadn't been training for very long. And it's just like, man, you can just give these gifts of knowledge to people that are like, and again, it at the end of the day, it's just jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But for these people, if this is like kind of your main hobby, it's just like, man, you are practicing, like you're practicing going to actual battle with people that want what's best for you. Like you're not trying to get one over on anybody. Like, there's another brown belt. He wrestled at OU. His name's Dylan Dennis. He's, Edmond PD, SWAT. Like he's a great dude. Every time, because we're in Steve's class, he calls out the matches. We don't make eye contact and be like, hey, you want to go? Like he calls out the matches. Okay,
that's
you
good.
go with him.
I like
you
when
go with
people
him.
do that. Formiga does it every day.
And this is Dylan and I's reaction whenever the professor says, all right, Dylan and Kyle, we both go,
yeah.
dang it. Because the majority of the time, 6 minutes goes by, it is 0-0, and we're both completely exhausted. Because I spammed takedowns on him, didn't work. He spammed takedowns on me, didn't work. We both got into a scramble where no points, scramble. We both end up on our feet, still 0-0. But that's the thing is like, you need those rounds, right? Because it's good to get that white belt that you can just kind of like play with and like, I want to see if I can do this. I want to see if I can like tap them to pressure. Let's mother's milk this person so we can get out of here. Like, but you kind of get exposure to those different things. And I mean, again, the lessons are just all over the place.
It's amazing. And like you mentioned this earlier, but like the opportunity to like that guy that got you with the crossed legs, and the ego, it's there. There's an opportunity for the ego. You're like, I'm going to like keep a straight face. I'm going to let him hurt my ankle. And then I'm going to not let him know that he almost got it. And I'm going to leave. I've done it before.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
The other day I had a similar experience. This really tall, kind of crazy blue belt sometimes, is super competitive, strong. He just goes like super hard right off the bat, 6:30 in the morning. I'm like barely waking up, and he like pulls to single leg X, like and he's tall and it's good, and I could feel like I step back and I could feel like, oh man, all right, and so I peel it and I could just like bump straight to mount, but I'm like, oh no, he's pretty good at this, and I'm gonna see if I can kind of stay here. So I'm playing a little game by myself. He doesn't know. He just thinks I'm not passing his single leg, and I keep peeling the heel off. And then eventually he gets a hold of my other leg. I'm like, oh, now I'm actually in trouble because he's about to sweep me. And he swept me. And then I held both of his pant legs so he couldn't move. But I was tempted to just be like kind of irritated that he swept me and just like keep that, keep it to the grave.
Put it on him.
Yeah. But afterward, I was like, it was cool because I was like, hey, dude, your single leg X is awesome. Like you're super good at that. You're a blue belt. That's something that's formative. And that's going to be something that sticks with you the rest of your journey. You're going to be really good. Like, when you're a black belt and you're doing this, people are going to be asking you to teach that portion of your game because I can already tell that that's some, and it felt really good after I was done saying that to him. At first I was just like, I don't want this guy to know I even struggled with this single leg X, and the sweep was like, whatever. But
because the other side of that is terrible, because you will have upper belts that are about to get something done to them by a lower belt, and they'll be like, hey, wait. If you'll adjust your grip a little bit up this way, blah, blah. It's like, no, bro, you take it. Like they got you. Just acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And because, there was some blue belt that did some sort of weird, it was something weird where I didn't really recognize what was happening with my shoulder. So I just tapped and I got mad. But it was a quick, like, I can't believe that just happened. It was frustrating. It was shocking. But then like within 10 seconds, I'm like, hey man, that was really slick.
What was that?
That was really, You can either ask, what is that? You're getting an opportunity to learn, but it's like, dude, that was so slick. And do you know what that probably meant to that guy?
Man.
To learn from, to have someone that, even just a higher belt, say, hey, that was really good. Because then when I roll with white belts, like at some point during the round, I need to let them know.
Yep.
So I either let them know from the beginning, and then I will let them work the rest of the time, or I'll let them work and then I'll just let them know in the last minute or so. Right. But then like, if they actually legit get something, I will typically laugh and be like, dude, you legit got that. Like I did, because they don't know if you're letting them work or doing it. Because that was always the thing. Like I would roll with somebody and I could tell they were going like 60%. And it was just so infuriating. But like I would tell some, dude, no, I was defending that. I had no idea you were about to throw that up.
Yep.
Like, nice job.
And I don't know if this is probably on the nose, but man, I again, just a parallel that I'm seeing personally as I disciple people. I see the opportunity for like, they're maybe off on some, like they're expressing their understanding of something theologically. And I think that they're off. But there's an element of it that I think is like, hey, that's actually really good reasoning. Like you cited the right verse, but the way that you're interpreting it actually can lead to a kind of a dangerous thing. So here's where we go. But like acknowledging that there was good in it. And I think that is really encouraging for anybody, whether it's their faith journey or it's jiu-jitsu, just to know, man, at least I was on the right track, or at least I'm headed in the right direction. I'm doing a couple things right. And that's so encouraging. And I think that's important for everybody to remember that, like, dude, you have such an opportunity to encourage a person with 5 seconds worth of effort, 5 seconds worth of talking to them.
And don't withhold.
No, don't withhold. There's no benefit to that. In fact, it's amazing. You feel amazing. I mean, even if you did it to be selfish, which of course not, but you're going to feel great encouraging somebody, watching them walk away, being built up and feeling like, and that maybe that puts some wind in their sails for the next couple of days, or gave them the motivation they need. They were having that day you were having when you were like in the locker room, and then Tyler Murrah says something to you and you're like, you know what, man, that makes me feel good. And I'm going to come back again and I'm going to get after it again.
Part of it's just expectation management for people. So every now and then I'll get into a round with, I'll get paired up with a white belt, and this is a white belt that wants to be chatty. Like they want to ask what I'm doing the entire time. Yeah. And I just have to be like, not while we're rolling.
Yeah.
Like, so if I summon all that, they'll be like, hey, can you show me how I got there? It's like, timer's going. Let's keep going. And so it's just like, you're kind of setting the tone for them. And it's not because you're being a jerk. It's because like, this is how you learn.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the other thing about jiu-jitsu. You don't realize you're getting better.
Yeah.
So like, if people could lift and not get stronger, nobody would lift.
Yeah.
Nobody lifts for fun, right?
No.
I don't lift for fun. I lift because I either get to maintain or grow in my strength, right? Mm-hmm. That's why everyone lifts. Mm-hmm. But jiu-jitsu is something where you may go years without really realizing, am I better?
Right.
And so, because I'm looking at my game right now and I'm comparing it to my blue belt game, because my all the way through purple belt, everything I did was predicated on the takedown. But, just turned 39 this year, have had some neck issues and things like that. And so it's like, I feel like I can always, excuse me, I feel like I can always dust off the double leg if I needed it.
Yeah.
But now it's like, what if I'm not going to be shooting a double leg? What are my other options?
Yeah.
Okay. What are some other singles? What are some other throws? What are some other things that I can do? What are some things I can do to stymie the other person so much that they're going to pull?
Yeah.
Because there's very few people that once they pull, that the advantage is to them.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you start moving around and kind of giving like a little bit of deference to the game and all that. But, again, it's still good to be able to learn from different people and get into those different positions.
Yeah.
But for you guys, like I'm still like with Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. So I've been to a couple of y'all's events. And so the way they're structured, well, I'm actually just curious about how it even got to what it is now. Cause I only know like what it is now. Cause I forgot how we got connected, but I think it was Matt was speaking at Formiga's for something. And so Matt and I had become friends, Matt Chandler. So he's like, hey, you should come down here for this event I'm speaking at. And so I go down there and I meet you guys and I meet some of the other guys. And it's like, okay, you got a whole bunch of people there. They're there for Formiga, but then, you know, Matt or some pastor or somebody will get up, get their testimony, give some sort of little bit of a speech or whatever. And then, you know, it's just kind of open mat rolling.
Yeah.
Was that kind of the idea from the beginning about what this was going to be, or did it just kind of end up that way?
The mission of the ministry is to build community and fellowship around Jesus and world-class jiu-jitsu. And so it started with, you know, live events 3 years ago, right? And then it was your idea to say, no, we need a podcast too, to disciple to people. But talk, I don't know, like talk the process of how we do the events.
Yes. Yeah. So the events are really, I mean, that's our evangelism portion. We're like trying to reach as many people as possible. So we are purposeful about bringing in the biggest people that we can get a hold of to draw an audience. And then when they're there, I mean, they know what they're getting. Like, it's not like you're showing up for this thing and then you're getting a timeshare pitch. You know, it's like you're going to a Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu event. You get the Jiu-Jitsu up front. You got to learn from Buchecha for free. There's a 15 or 20 minute sermon on the backside, which the last one was that you came to was Matt Chandler again, but he was
and Buchecha.
And Buchecha. And amazing. 400, 500 people in the building, like just amazing group of people. But that's a piece of what we do. That's like the forward facing, like, hey, let's go to the community. Let's pull these guys in. And people who are far from God, people who are not willing to go to church, the way Matt says it, they will never darken the door of a church, but they'll step foot on a mat. And so we use jiu-jitsu as a bridge, as a tool for the gospel. And we just get in proximity. So come for the amazing jiu-jitsu, be in earshot of the message. We share the gospel. Maybe it will land on their heart. Maybe it will find fertile soil and it will grow. And then we train after. And that way they always know, like, there's an element of that. Most people love that part of getting to like go to an open mat or a seminars. They look forward to the rolls afterward. And in this case, there's always world-class jiu-jitsu players there after, whether it was the guy that taught or just all his friends that showed up that are black belts, and they get to train with all these different people. So that's the big draw of what we do. But the podcast started shortly after as specifically as a discipleship tool, because there's a lot of people that weren't, I realized early on, like, cool, we're reaching people, but the real work starts when it's like walking with them. And I saw this in my dad's ministry. Like, my dad was with the power team, and then power team had some moral failings in their leadership. A couple of those guys left and started Team Impact. My dad was one of those founders, and they knew we're going to come in town. People are going to come see us. We're going to get to share the gospel with them. And then we leave town. Like, that's not a good model for people to do the long-term work. So we need to make sure that we don't leave them just like their hearts open, leave their hearts raw. So that what they do is they're very purposeful about getting connected with the local church so that they can continue that fellowship, that discipleship. So that was kind of the podcast part of what we do. And then now we have like content, you know, I mean, devotional book, discipleship curriculums coming out. So yeah, that's kind of how we're set up and where our heart is: evangelism, discipleship.
Hey guys, real quick. So I remember back in high school, I was training with these guys and they all got super jacked, but they were training and using these supplements that they were buying online, and a lot of them had crazy side effects. These were not good things. There's no telling what all was in these supplements. And so I've always kind of been scared about what supplements I'm going to put in my body. And I decided when I do start taking supplements, I want to make sure I'm using products that are certifiably clean and also using only high quality ingredients. And that's why I want to remind you guys that I have started taking and that we are partnered with Jocko Fuel. So Jocko Fuel is Jocko Willink's American-based supplement company. So what are they known for, and what are some of my favorite products that they make? They make a lot of whey protein powder. Their cookies and cream flavor is ridiculously good, especially with milk. And if you want to make some like peanut butter protein snack balls that a lot of people are making out there, that is a key ingredient. Also, they make the cleanest energy drinks that I've ever found, and my new favorite flavor is actually their latest flavor, which is Nitro Pop. Guys, it's incredible. They also have Jocko Hydrate drinks that are awesome because they are electrolyte drinks that aren't full of added sugar and artificial coloring and dyes and things like that. They also have the best tasting greens powder that I've ever had in my entire life. So you guys definitely have to check that out. But I also use their Creole oil. I use their fish oil, creatine, vitamin D, magnesium, joint warfare, and their sleep aids. And they have new stuff coming out all the time. Guys, if you take your health and wellness seriously, then you simply cannot afford to put cheap and inconsistent and dirty supplements inside your body. Try Jocko Fuel out today by going to jockofuel.com. That's jockofuel.com. Use the promo code UNDAUNTED to get 10% off your order. Again, that's jockofuel.com. Promo code UNDAUNTED to get 10% off your order. Well, that's similar to whenever I go and speak places, I always tell the staff or the elders or whoever, I'm like, hey, y'all need to be ready. And they're like, they're thinking like for me to come in town. I'm like, no, for the moment I leave.
Yeah.
Because again, my style is burn it down and walk away. And the thing is because I don't live here. Like I don't live in this town. I don't live in whereversville, Ohio. Like it's just, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do my thing, and then I get to leave. So discipleship is not my process.
Yeah.
Like, and if somebody is saved by the Holy Spirit that night or something like that, like discipleship should start immediately. Y'all need to have a plan in place for that, right? Because whenever I got saved, I didn't have anyone discipling me, but I'm highly conscientious. So I go to the Salt Cellar Christian bookstore in Edmond or in Lawton, Oklahoma, right next to Hastings. And I go buy the most extreme teen looking Bible possible. And I just start reading, right? And so, which can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Right. And so I think that that's a helpful thing to kind of have that in your mindset. Cause it'd be one thing, cause we talked about this when we were hanging out down in Dallas last time with Matt. It's like, okay, you're not going to maybe have a bigger seminar than Buchecha and Matt Chandler, right? The combo there, that's probably the high water mark.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't shoot for something bigger than that. But it's like, is the point to have events? Is it to go on tour and do some Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu events? Like, okay, go to Atos and in San Diego and then pop in somewhere in Austin and then head up to Origin up in Maine. And okay, maybe that's a point. But if the goal is discipleship, everything has to look and feel different.
Yeah.
But you still have to have the event that kind of drives people to the content, right? Which will help them on their sanctification journeys as well.
That's right.
So, but I mean, again, was that the plan from the beginning to do it this way, or has it just kind of emerged as y'all have continued to work through it?
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was really like, I think trying to figure out what it was going to be. And it was like, well, we want to reach as many people as possible with the gospel. So let's put together these events. We did the events. Then quickly after we realized the need for discipleship, people are like, this is cool, but I want more. I want to walk with some of these guys. I've met a bunch of people in the community. Now there's kind of a place you've carved out. You like, we staked a claim. We like stuck our flag in the ground as like, this is a place where believers can be bold about their faith. In jiu-jitsu, it wasn't really like that before, especially in our area. I mean, there's a lot of people who personally have a belief, some Bible studies here and there, but it wasn't really like and he's been doing jiu-jitsu a lot longer than me, but it's kind of been traditionally a dark place.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu gyms are not that conducive to it unless you're purposeful. So we're like, let's be bold in these places. But again, they wanted to walk in community with people. And I realized a need right early on. And so especially all the founding guys were like, discipleship needs to happen next. But it was just kind of figuring out how to do it that was difficult. And we're still working on it.
We've gotten a few things wrong and we'll probably continue to, right? I mean, it's a 501c3 nonprofit, but it's
I like talking about things that go wrong. So are you open to talking about some of the mistakes or missteps?
Yeah, of course.
Let's dig in.
Where do we start?
Because you're how many years in at this point?
3 years as an organization.
Okay, so 3 years in. So what were some of the things to where it's like looking back, you're like, oh, that one wasn't it. And let's name names too. Let's throw people under the bus. Come on,
everybody under the bus.
I like making people uncomfortable. So
it's not uncomfortable.
Kind of my thing.
Actually, people will learn from our mistakes.
That's the idea.
Yeah. So I think something that we're trying to overcome present day is that that Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu is not just a double five thing.
Yeah.
Right. Just because most of us train at double five or have some sort of affiliation to double five.
And many of our instructors early on, we were getting them from that pool because they were supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a mistake was like almost making Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu somewhat exclusive, even though it wasn't, right? Like it wasn't exclusive and that wasn't the intent, but just a byproduct of who we were picking to do seminars and who had, was able to donate their time. It turned into like, oh man, this is just double five thing, right?
Yeah.
And so
which it could be worse.
Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah. But I think that, that was something that we're trying to pivot from now. And we had some good opportunities when we were at Jiu-Jitsu Con in Vegas just a month ago now, to where people realize that, Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu isn't just a double five thing. Like this is more of a kingdom initiative, and that goes beyond any affiliation. Like our affiliation is to Christ. And so it was cool to see folks like Josh Hinger and Formiga, who are rivals and, compete against each other to be the best masters athletes in the world, spending time together at the Jesus Jiu-Jitsu booth. And I think that was the jiu-jitsu community was able to see that in that, oh, this isn't just a Formiga thing. These aren't just Formiga's guys. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, we are for everyone. Like, it is inclusive. And so I think we're on the verge of like overcoming that, especially as we're bringing in and building stronger relationships with folks that kind of run those other affiliations, right? Your Atos, your Gracie Baja. We did a great on the mat with Ignacio Neto recently, which is kind of a new initiative we're pushing out there too. Kind of gives us a more raw setting to go. We'll pop in with the film crew, like us. We'll go train with them, and then we just interview them on the mat. So kind of like an on the mat style podcast, just getting really raw with folks. Like you're in your gi, you're laying on the mat, you're drenched in sweat. And that opportunity that we had with Ignacio Neto, who owns Gracie Baja McKinney, he's looking to open up a new location soon. Very well known in the space, great believer, just great man of God, about to be a father with twins. So congratulations to him and shout out to him. But you know how Gracie Baja is, and they're a little closed.
Yep.
Yeah, very, very closed, right? And so something that I thought was a big deal that we kind of brushed off that day was that we were the first people to step on his mats that weren't wearing Gracie Baja gis.
Okay.
Right. And if you've been around the sport long enough to know, you know that Gracie Baja is
a big deal.
That you wear a uniform.
That's right.
It's a uniform. And that doesn't happen. And
I dropped into a Gracie and I don't own a white gi, much less a Gracie Baja, so I had to borrow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so, but Ignacio made it a point to bring that up, to say, oh, brother, you're the first guy not in, And Dave was with us. Dave got to train as well, and he's a killer, by the way. Not only Dave, but
he doesn't technically exist because he's not on camera. We don't know that he's a real
David
person.
Rodriguez.
So, it was really cool just to see that, like, in that moment, we were there to just talk about Jesus. It wasn't as much about jiu-jitsu, but it's talk about like the common ground between us was obviously our love for jiu-jitsu, but ultimately our love for Jesus. And it went beyond any affiliation, beyond any school, beyond anything. No, we're going to talk about our love for Jesus, period. And the more that the ministry is getting out there now and like really getting legs in the jiu-jitsu space, I think people are starting to realize that it's not just a thing. You mentioned wearing your shirts, at the airport, and they're conversation starters. We call that in the wild, right? Like seeing a Jesus Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, there's someone in the airport. Like I didn't know the guy. And so for a good period of time, like, if we saw somebody out in public wearing something of the ministries, like we knew that person.
Yeah, right.
But after Vegas, it's like, we're there. We were there 3 days, I guess.
Yeah,
yeah. By day 3, there was Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu stuff
in the stands,
everywhere. Like in the stands, people had flags. It's like, okay, this is where it's at. And so, really, just a short answer to your question.
No, I mean that's helpful because it kind of gives me a sense of like what it took to kind of get to where you go, because you can't know that it was a mistake or a misstep, and you look back and you're like, oh, why did I believe that? Because that's what the info you had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You made the call you thought was right, and then looking back on it, you would have stepped a little different.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I'll share another shortcoming with you, which was that we. So early on, there was a ton of people that were reaching out like, this is cool. I want to, how do we be a part of this thing? I want to be a part of this. I run a Bible study in my school. Can I call it Jesus in Jiu-Jitsu? And in the beginning, it was kind of like, well, I felt like it was a selfish thing. I'm not trying to be exclusive with the ministry part of this at all. And so it was kind of like loose in the beginning, but then quickly I made a mistake. I realized there was a guy that, I talked to that was like, I'm going to lead this Bible study. I'm going to call it this. And I was meeting with him, and I thought that kind of having a personal relationship with him would be enough to kind of justify setting him loose. But then talking to him a couple times in, after he had already been leading a Bible study, he was like, oh, his theology is crazy. Like, this is not healthy. And if he's leading a whole group of people, we definitely can't have our name on this, because it's not even in alignment with our statement of faith that we put out, that I wrote and put on the website. And so in wisdom, so the Bible says that in a multitude of counselors, there's safety. And man, I've taken that to heart with Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. I have a wide variety of wise counselors who are never afraid to tell me the truth. Like, they will hurt my feelings to tell me the truth. And I've surrounded myself with all of them. Matt Chandler's one of them. And a bunch of other really awesome dudes to kind of inform
just say
the
his
board.
name. He's sitting.
Yeah, Kyle Thompson.
Hi, Isaac.
He has been an advisor to us.
Exactly.
Well, we learned a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, we made some changes after our last time we spent together, just kind of like in how we're thinking about certain things.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. I'm surrounding myself continually with wise people and varying different opinions and perspectives, and it's helped inform us. But wise counsel said, "Hey, if they're going to be representing the ministry, we have to. It's not that we're trying to control every little piece of this, but you have to be guarded in who is able to represent your name.
Yeah,
like there's not people out there teaching wacky stuff that say they're with the Undaunted.Life ministry and podcast, and you have to control that. And so the way that we figured the best way to do that was to give people something that was in alignment with our statement of faith, theologically very sound, well written, professionally written. And so that's why we're working hard on our discipleship curriculum. It's going to come out. So we have our first semester of discipleship curriculum will come out. I think we're aiming for like maybe 6 weeks from now. But we're going to have, we're recording the video portion of it. So there's going to be a video that accompanies it. And then there's going to be the host will have a leader guide for discussions. And it's an 8-week course, go through these 8 different topics. And then there'll be a 4-week break and there's another 8 weeks. So it's 4 8-week semesters. And again, the first semester's coming out pretty soon. And that's the best way we knew to like, now we're equipping these people with stuff that we trust. And those leader guides are going to be leading discussions. Those leaders are going to be leading discussions that they're in alignment with what we believe to be the gospel, what we mean when we say the gospel, and it is in alignment with our statement of faith. So,
yeah, I wanted to. Were you bringing up some of the guides or something in there?
Yeah, I was going to bring up the 8 topics that we'll
yeah,
cover
so
in those
go ahead
first
and go
8
through
weeks.
because I was going to ask kind of what's the next iteration.
Yeah.
So let's hear them out.
Yeah, give me just a moment here.
Yeah, as you're bringing that up, Ryan, like I think that one of the things that's important is I get asked all the time, like, "Hey, Kyle, what's the next big thing for Undaunted.Life?
Mhm.
Like, what's the 3 to 5 year plan? What's the big goal?" I don't know if we talked about this when we were chilling on the back porch at Matt's house or not, but I was literally like, "Guys, I'm trying to make the next right move."
Yeah.
The next right move, because I am a content creator.
Mhm.
And so that's Undaunted.Life Man's podcast, and that's the Daily Blade.
Yep.
And so inherent in that is not like a massive plan, because a year and a half ago, Dominion didn't exist, right? The idea that I would be coaching, men in kind of a small group setting or a one-on-one setting, like that didn't exist. And so it's like, let's let the marketplace continue to float us in terms of people agreeing with the message and wanting more of it.
Right.
But then how do we tangibly deliver that in a way that's conducive to people having an overall difference and change? And so you got them up, Ryan?
Yeah, I do.
All right, go ahead.
I do. So the first session is going to be on personal holiness and sanctification. We put a little jiu-jitsu flavor in each one of these, right? Yeah. So that is guard retention.
Okay, which lesson is barambolo? Is that whenever things go horribly wrong?
That's lesson 9.
Okay,
yeah, lesson 9.
You will not see me doing that. Go ahead.
Let's see. Session 2 is character and discipline, or technique, growing in the foundations of faith. We've got what was that? 3? 3, marriage. Is flow rolling is what we call that.
Yeah, some give and take, right?
Let's go.
I caught a submission. I could end you right now in our argument. I'm not pulling
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, I'm going to let that go.
Session 4 is fatherhood and parenthood, professor and coach type deal. 5, work and finance, or pressure passing.
Grinded.
Like that.
Right, yeah. 6, theology as doxology, that's submission. 7, evangelism and apologetics, grip fighting. 8, mentorship and building community, that's Matt culture. And we've got, full on scripting.
It's very
for all
Texas
this.
Jiu-Jitsu because there's no takedowns, like none whatsoever.
Well, you can put that in with apologetics.
Bunch
I
of
guess, with the
guard
grip
players
fighting.
over there.
No, grip fighting, man.
Okay. Whatever.
I like that.
No, I love that y'all are breaking it down that way. But like, so where did the idea come from to do that? Because again, you do events. Events are sexy and they're cool, and you get to take a lot of videos and stuff like that. But like, that's the thing is like, church camp it's big, and the revival, the tent revivals, like it's big, and you got all the production and the smoke and blah blah and all that stuff. Sanctification and discipleship is super boring.
Oh,
right?
Man.
It's
way
just,
less
it's
sexy
the grind,
for sure.
right?
Yeah.
But that's where you get good. It's not competing and getting a medal. It's all those 6 a.m. jiu-jitsu classes.
1,000%.
Right?
So that it was born out of that. We want to give people something that's long lasting, that's like evergreen, that helps them grow in their faith, that grow deep roots in the jiu-jitsu community. Because again, our target audience are people who The people we are after, that God has tasked us with reaching, are the men that will not step foot in a church, but will go to a jiu-jitsu event. They will plug into maybe a group of men that says, dude, hey, on this day, like, we meet together, we hang out. We've seen the fruit of that. We started a Bible study on Tuesday after our Tuesday morning class.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, like, and that's grown. We had like a couple guys. It was Cramer and I and Will, and then 2 other guys that own this like health clinic. And we would meet in their lobby just to have coffee and talk about the Bible. And then those 2 guys gave their life to the Lord, got baptized at Matt's
I met
church.
those guys.
Yeah. And then that group has grown. Actually, a bunch of them were hanging out with us when we went to Matt's house.
Yeah, because the next day, that one of them got baptized.
That was right.
Yeah.
And it's just like grown. That group has grown because it's like, it's attractive. We're doing, the Village says deep work in community over time. That's discipleship. And so that's what we're doing in that group. And it's so attractive because people are like, it's so easy to invite people to that. Hey man, there's a bunch of us that get together right after this. We go have coffee, talk about life. We're working through a book right now. Like, we would love to have you come through, no pressure. And they're always like, yeah, I'll go check that out. And then we get another guy. And we got 25 dudes. We don't even have enough room in the
That's
lobby.
great, man.
But that's a tiny little example of what we're trying to do with the discipleship curriculum. It was born out of a need or a desire to like equip these people. So Jesus in Jiu-Jitsu can't be in every city. Like, we can't have events in every city, in every state all the time. But a lot of people think that that's what the ministry is. But I'm like, dude, Jiu-Jitsu's cool. Jesus is way cooler, way more important than all of that. Let's give you that piece of it. So we're making curriculum to equip people, those people in those communities, like you at the Forge, those men and women that you train with way better than we could ever, when we came in for one day and spoke, like you said, you go and you burn it down, you leave.
Yeah.
Those people are going to do the work there because they've walked in community with those people for years. They know their spouses' names. They know the sickness or the illness that they recently got over, or their parent that passed away. They know all of those things. We're not trying to be that for those people. We want to equip the people who are already in their life with content that they're not having to like write a sermon every single week to minister to the people in their community. Hey, let's give you some really solid, well-written stuff that's theologically rich to minister to the people in your life.
So how much control do you have or influence do you have on the people that are leading these groups after you get the content in their hands?
Well, because we haven't launched it yet, my plan is to be able to do a quarterly Zoom call with the hosts of those things so that we have a touch point with them. They also will have, there might be dozens and dozens because it's open to the whole world. There's people in Brazil and Canada and Japan. The Philippines, Japan that want to do it. But they'll have my contact. I would love to have touch points once a quarter with these people, face-to-face Zoom call.
Yeah, you got to keep a close eye on those Canadians,
Mm-hmm.
all right?
Yeah,
So
especially
we don't
them.
know what they're saying.
Yeah,
up there.
I know
like
a lot
their
of them from
tuxedos.
South Park.
They're all rolling around in their maple syrup and all that kind of stuff up there. But no, because that's the other thing about it is, there's always this concept of what have you done for me lately? So it's like you'll watch a show, you'll binge watch season 1 of a show that took 2 years to make, right? To write and to film and to edit and do all that kind of stuff. And then you're like, when's season 2 coming out? Oh, in
2 years
a
from
half.
now.
This is so stupid. Like, so we get entitled to it.
Yeah.
But you guys have already, had to start thinking about this, I would assume. We don't even have the curriculum launched yet. Well, what's after that? Right? Because, as soon as I wrote the first devotional, which is the first thing I ever did for Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast, or just Undaunted.Life in general, was a 21-day devotional on the YouVersion Bible app. And then people would get done with that and they're like, YouVersion 2 was like, hey, when are we getting another one?
Yep.
And then, the podcast, obviously, it's like, okay, well, just wait a couple of days and we'll have something else out for you. Or Daily Blade is every day. But like, so what's, I guess, that next thing? Like, let's say
semester 2.
Yeah, let's say, okay. Let's say you prove concept, right? Because you said there's going to be 4 semesters total of this, all 8-week chunks.
Yep.
So it technically, gets you a year if you think about it, depending on the breaks.
Yeah. It's 32 weeks plus with breaks in between. Yep.
So you give someone a year and then what? Because y'all know the question's coming, right? And so we haven't even launched that first one yet.
Yep.
But what is the thought for how this is iterated into the future? Because a podcast like what I do, like it's a new voice. It's the same voice giving you new information every few days. Right. And so with what y'all are doing, like you don't want to say, well, y'all can start back over with week 1. Now, some people will do that and they'll get a lot of value out of it. So the small group goes through Wild at Heart, and then they did such a good job and loved it so much, they're going to take a couple weeks off, and then they're going to start back over in the intro chapter, right? What does it look like even after that?
Yeah, so we also came out with volume 1 of a devotionals book, right?
Weekly
Hey,
devotionals.
Brian,
are
can you actually grab the devotional book?
Yeah.
It's over there in that box. I want to show it on screen. It's on one of those boxes right there. I think I tossed in that one that's open right there. I just wanted an excuse to get you on screen. So you're going to have to come all the way around here and hand it to me because
It's
I'm not
funny
getting
because
up.
David's
handsome.
actually on the cover of the devotional
Boom.
too.
Come all the way around and smile. You have to smile at all 3 cameras. Guys, this is Ryan Rodriguez. Look at him.
David Rodriguez,
Black belt. All right, get off camera. Get out of here. We don't want anybody getting all offended or whatever. So this is it. This is what you're talking about, the weekly devotionals here.
That's
so
it.
boom, guys,
Yeah.
check that out. Bam. Isn't that awesome? And so if somebody wanted to get this, by the way, how can they get their hands on this?
Our website.
Okay.
So they have
the
it on
website.
Amazon. Don't buy it on Amazon. Buy it on our website,
Okay.
JesusandJujitsuUSA.com.
And it's
you can find
Jiu-Jitsu. JIUJITSU, not Jew, JEW, not JU, right? It's Jiu-Jitsu.
JiujitsuUSA.com. And you can find this. So this is a weekly devotional. It's got 6 months of devotionals. If you're doing weekly, you can burn through them too.
Yeah.
Has lines in here, but these are really well written. This is not some chat GPT thing that was thrown together. These are written by Sterling Archer, who's a really seasoned, he's written a lot of discipleship curriculums for different organizations. He's ghostwritten books for pastors. A solid dude that
Can you
met
tell me
with
which
us for-
pastors?
Yeah.
He's ghostwritten
and
them? Yeah, sorry,
NDAs.
Go ahead. Keep
But
going.
he met with us for months, and Lucas, before he dove into how we wanted to do our curriculum. And he listened to our podcast and he pulled a bunch of ideas from the podcast. And then at the very back, there's actually a podcast guide that shows it's a reference for the episode guide.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh, this is cool, how do I hear more about this topic? We'll go to this episode of our podcast, the
Awesome.
Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast. You can listen to it.
So we'll continue to expand upon both the devotional curriculum as well as the discipleship curriculum, as well as the weekly devotionals, volume 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. But this is maybe a pipe dream for me, but jiu-jitsu is only getting more and more popular, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we know that with CJI and UFC BJJ. We are going to start tailoring a few more of our events toward the no-gi community, which you probably like to hear, more wrestlers and
Yay.
stuff, because they're different. Like
They are.
I think,
Except
16
you
years
have to
ago.
get a bunch of dang autistic leg lockers, and that's
Yeah,
the problem.
Yeah.
Well,
but
there's plenty of them out there.
Yeah.
So 16 years ago, I mean, people trained no-gi, yes, but it was also just like a seasonal thing, or you just took your gi top off and that was no-gi.
Yeah.
But now they're two completely different, in some places,
They're
completely different
sports entirely.
communities.
Yeah.
Really.
Different communities,
More
different
weed
sports.
in the no-gi culture.
Yeah.
Y'all know.
Sure.
Y'all
Yeah.
know.
For sure.
For sure. That is a common smell in a jiu-jitsu gym.
Shout out to 10th Planet.
Yeah. But we see that as an opportunity for another community, because it's not just jiu-jitsu. Like no-gi and gi are different now, and so
Well, also
for
the
us
barrier to entry, all jokes aside, the barrier to entry for no-gi is incredibly low. So like tomorrow when we're taking the Dominion guys through a little seminar,
Yep.
only one of those guys has ever done jiu-jitsu before. He's a purple belt.
Yeah.
But for some of these other guys, if it's like, hey, come to jiu-jitsu, and it's like, hey, bring a gi.
Yep.
Like who's got that?
and nobody
No
knows how
one.
to tie
No
a
one.
belt.
Yeah, no one knows how to tie a belt,
Yeah.
and like no
Yeah.
academy has enough like trial gis for trial class guys if a couple of dozen people show up.
Yeah, but I think any community needs jiu-jitsu, but the no-gi community, especially, if I could call them out, is probably more in need of Jesus than the gi. Not to compare the two, but that's just what I'm doing now.
Because they're the ones that would probably become Pentecostals anyway. So we gotta be careful.
Well, I mean,
Right.
by and
All
large,
right.
it's kind of a younger crowd.
Yeah.
They're a little more rowdy, and dude, that's fun and exciting. And we made a purposeful, we're making an effort to reach those dudes. But really, it's going to take people who are attractive in that space. Like Wuchech is amazing, and he's super decorated in the gi. He's also prolific in no gi as well, ADCC, but he's not current right now. He's in the UFC, which is current in MMA. But that whole crowd that with CJI guys. So we're working on that right now. We have an event November 1st in the DFW area that we're bringing Carlos Henrique, who just won UFC BJJ.
He's the lightweight champ.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah. I mean, he's really well known, and there's a lot of excitement and momentum behind him. And so he's agreed to come out and teach a seminar for us.
Yeah. So tailoring some of our content and events to reach different communities within jiu-jitsu. But also, I mean, again, pipe dream for me, like I'm thinking Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu retreats and competitions and stuff that are really, and like just imagine several hundred competitors on a mat, and like before you kick off the whole competition, there's this huge worship session, you know, and like everybody just praising the Lord together and then going to go scrap. And like, I envision that one day. I think we're, you know, still pretty far from it, but I mean, Lord willing, that's where we'll take this thing. So do we have it totally written out on paper? I mean, if we had a vision board, we'd probably be pretty similar in what's on that board. But right now it's just kind of getting through these short-term initiatives. And then like, when we'll start talking about like, what's next?
Yeah.
When you got to stay sensitive to the Holy Spirit, because like, even look at the Daily Blade, like that, I didn't have the whiteboard over there full of ideas. And one of them was like, hey, you know, a daily devotional for like normal dudes, not, you know, effeminate dudes. Like that was just like, I was looking for something for me, couldn't find it. Called Joby and was like, hey, Joby Martin, pastor guy, do you want to do this daily devotional thing? That's, you know, 5 minutes, like locker room style. Like, hey, we're on our way to the safety meeting or on the way to the gym. And the guy doesn't have time for an hour long sermon. He's got time for 5 minutes. And he's like, yeah, that's the easiest yes you could have given. Like, you know, absolutely. I'll do a week, you do a week, and then we'll get guests here and there. It was just out of a need. And so that's one thing that if y'all plan out the next 10 years, you're going to have to say no to the promptings of the Holy Spirit. You're going to say no to the community in certain ways that they need to be moved, as opposed to just like, let's make sure we do the next right thing as conscientiously and as high quality as possible. Because here's the other thing. Inside the Christian world, right? So there are people that will go watch a Christian movie that's garbage, but they'll be like, but we need to support them because they're making Jesus movies and stuff like that. Same thing with music or books or anything like that. It's like, no. Like we need to make the highest, we should be the best employees.
Agreed.
We should be the most creative individuals. We should have the most high quality writing, because let's say people love jiu-jitsu and they love Jesus and they like you guys. They decide, I'm going to buy this thing and it's garbage.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not any good. Yeah. Right. They're going to do a couple of weeks of this and they're going to be like, okay, that was a complete waste of my time. They're going to toss it on the shelf or in the garbage. And so you don't want that. You want to make sure you're constantly putting out high quality stuff. Same thing with your events. If your events are hard to find where they are, hard to get signed up for, hard to RSVP, like when you get there, it's like chickens with their heads cut off and like, oh, you know, we got merch, but it's only in extra small and triple extra large. And like, you come to a thing and you leave going, that probably wasn't worth my time. Yeah. As opposed to leaving going like, man, they thought of everything. Yep. Like we had Jocko Goes to drink on the way out the door. Like we had our merch in tow, team. Like parking was squared away. So it's just a different ballgame.
Yeah. And that's, I think now that we've been kind of catapulted into somewhat of a limelight amongst, you know, the jiu-jitsu community, that like, the quality of everything that we do matters so much. Yeah. And that's where we're just trying to raise the bar on what we do. I mean, to spend time here in your podcast too, you look around, you're like, this is incredible. This is incredible, right? Yeah. Like, how can we produce things at the same level of quality that people come to expect from something that they're going to listen to or watch on YouTube? Like our content, everything that we produce, our content, our apparel, that is the biggest moneymaker for our ministry, right? The biggest revenue generator is our apparel. Yeah. And you can buy all that on the website at www.jesusjiu-usa.com. Go to shop. And we're going to continue to like evolve the apparel as well, more of a lifestyle, you know, type brand.
Shout out to Dave and Robin.
Like, it'll all be super quality. We want quality in everything that we produce, because it's not just bootstrapped anymore. Like, we're legitimate.
Which people are cool with that at the beginning. Yeah. But eventually it's like, so it's kind of like Origin. Like you guys have some affiliation with Origin. Y'all were just at Immersion Camp and stuff like that. And so very early on, if you ordered one of the first Origin gis and you had to wait a few months and all that, you didn't care. Because you believed in the story, right? You believed in the mission. You know, every stitch was made in America and put together by American hands, and like all the things, right? But now, if it takes you 6 months to get a pair of jeans, or 4 months for a pair of boots, or 5 months for a gi or something like that, that's just not going to work. Yeah. Totally. So eventually, it's like, hey, I love you, but damn, dude, if I'm going to pay a premium for this, like it's got to be aces.
I'm the same. So that's what it was in the beginning. I was like, I knew that merch was going to be the way. So the ministry, I wanted to be sustainable, meaning like we had a product that we could give out that was earning us money, so we weren't dependent on our donations. Donations can be icing on the cake, but I want the cake to be taken care of, and what we were doing was merchandise. But in the beginning, it was me putting an order in with the shop 40 minutes away, driving, picking up the things, folding the shirts, putting them in, sitting at my desk, printing it out, and then waiting in line at USPS to give it to put them in. I was doing like 50 orders a week by myself. I had boxes stacked to the ceiling in my house, I knew, I mean, it sucked and it took a long time. It was exciting because I knew that people were like
people
catching
ordering.
on.
This is cool.
But it was tough, but I knew that it was temporary, but I also knew that money was going to be, we could, with more money, we could start, okay, now we can start doing content. We can start paying videographers. We can start buying more, whatever, And so that's what we did. And now we have a full-on operation. Dave and Robin Smeichel, incredible at what they do. They're our merch managers of shipping and fulfillment, inventory management, everything. Professionals, like top-notch professionals, husband and wife. They run our shop out of their house. They have a room, like a big room upstairs they use as a media room. And it's like got racks and racks of stuff, and they're pros. I mean, Robin came from that background, a professional background in logistics management for shipping, pharmaceutical stuff. And so now we have that, but God has just brought the right people around, and we're just kind of like, climbing up in quality in every area of what we do. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. He continues to show his favor on the ministry just by the people that he puts in front of us. It's like undeniable. Like Sterling Archer is another, I mean, just a great example of
incredible.
Like,
yeah.
Hey, he got connected, started listening to our podcast, was like, hey guys, how can I help?
Yeah.
Here's what my skill sets are. Oh, great. We have a need for that. And then bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been great to even just watch from the first time I met you guys to seeing kind of what you're doing now, because I mean, curriculum's like a real, like this is a kind of an I mean it thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So doing a course, doing a book for somebody, because I've been asked to do this.
Yes.
Because when people ask me, like, because they see all the stuff we put out, they're like, oh my, you might have a bunch of people, but how many of my staff members did y'all meet on the way up here today? Yeah, none. Me. You're looking at them, right?
Yeah.
So I turned all this stuff on.
Yes.
Like I got this, and shout out to Landon, my editor out in Jacksonville. But like that's it. It's like my focus is on content, and so because I talk to these business people, and they're like, "God, do you realize how much money you're leaving on the table by not doing this or not focusing on merch?" Because every time we do merch, people buy a ton of it. But I'm basically the one taking
Yes.
it. The one time we had a different group do our fulfillment for us, we sold a butt ton of hoodies, and we lost almost $1,000, on these hoodies. And I was like, look, marketing, if you are in the black at all, that's a good thing, because you want people walking around wearing your stuff, but you can't be losing money hand over fist. Like every time you sell something, you're in the red. And so, but part of it is just because my focus is content, because I was put on this planet to equip men to push back darkness, not to put t-shirts on their backs.
Yeah.
But if putting t-shirts on someone's back causes them to ask a question, like, my hats don't have any words on it. It's just my logo. People will be like, oh, that's a cool logo. What's that? And if someone's wearing my hat, they know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not an accident. And my marketing is fairly subtle. It's Undaunted.Life. What does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. And I'm the one that came up with it. But like Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu, it's like straight on.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
It's my favorite text from you. Like, hey, good job on the subtlety on that. He hits us up in the group message with that.
It's such a jokester,
So
man.
subtle, buddy.
I'm not a jokester. I'm serious all the time.
Yeah.
You're right.
But like the thing about it is like, imagine if y'all had tried to come up with something like more creative, right?
Mhm.
It's not creative. Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu.
No.
It's just perfect,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to call this thing Undaunted, but guess what? Undaunted.com is taken by some Polaroid photographer that hasn't updated his, website in about 20 years. And so I looked at, GoDaddy, and like Undaunted.Life was available. I was like, no one's ever going to go to this website anyway. Buy that one. And now I'm dealing with, sending out stuff via MailChimp, and it doesn't go to someone's inbox because it's a .life and not a .com. So, you have your issues. Joby's church is called the Church of 1122, the dumbest church name in the history of church names. But at the time, they didn't think it was going to be a thing, and now it's like an actual thing. But, for you guys, I just want to, let the audience know, how could they support you guys? Like, if people want to get involved, if they want their academy or something like that to I don't know, host you guys or start one of the groups, like just kind of let people know how they can get involved.
So we have an aggressive goal next year. I don't know if we're going to get there, but man, our team is working to make sure it happens. And I'm just giving them a shout out because I so appreciate them. Norma Engel, she was the director of operations for Jiu-Jitsu World League. Now she's helping us on operations with Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. Robin and Dave, I just shared about them. Lucas Pinkard, one of our VPs, he's a senior pastor of a church and just great, amazing friend in the ministry. Cramer. And so these guys, we're trying to make, and Tyler Smith, our creative director,
and Dave Rodriguez,
and David Rodriguez, who's sitting over there, our videographer. And so anyway, we're working together on an aggressive goal for next year. We want to do 12 events. We want to do one event a month, 6 in state and 6 out of state. And so, we're trying to make that happen. That's going to be
That's Texas, by the way, guys.
Yeah, Texas.
Yeah, 6 in Texas.
Yeah,
6
but you can
Texas.
include Oklahoma and Louisiana, and that's close enough you can drive to a DFW, you know. But we want to do 6 out of state. So it's going to take a lot of organizing and planning. We have a few of these schools, big schools lined up. You know, we're really pushing to try to get with Atos. Josh Hinger was like, have you ever met Galval? I was like, no. He goes, you want to? I'm like, yeah. So he FaceTimes him and he's like, hey, professor, this is Isaac, it's Cramer, this is Jesus Jiu-Jitsu. Like, check it out. And he's like, dude, I love this. This is awesome. And then,
you know, he gave me my jiu-jitsu nickname.
Did he?
Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
Don't lose your train of thought. He was brought to the Forge, but I had been training like 6 months as a white belt, and he was brought in, and I don't know who he is, but I'm like, all right, I need to just go to all the different seminars or whatever. So they bring him in, and then at the end of the seminar, he just starts calling people out to come roll with him, right? And so he, you know, calls out this person, calls out that person, and then he points to me. He goes, "Big white belt, come here." And so I come out there, and like for whatever reason, my hair was a little longer at the time. I hadn't had a haircut in a while. My beard was a little unkempt, and you know, I'm after a 2-hour seminar, and he goes, Viking. Like, you look like a Viking.
Yes.
And so the name just stuck.
That's
and
good.
people just called me Viking for forever. But it's like, that's actually pretty cool for like, I don't know how many time world champion that guy is.
Oh,
but
dude.
To get my jiu-jitsu
When if
nickname
you
from
said
that guy.
it sticks.
So
It's
yeah,
his
guys,
thing.
I am a Viking. It is official. Galval told me. But
Galval's
so
a stud.
FaceTiming with him and trying to get with Atos.
Yeah, so that's one of the places we're aiming to get in, you know, in the new year. Wagner Rocha's out, and he's a huge supporter of our ministry.
He walked out
believer.
at ADCC. No. Yeah, ADCC last year.
Holding our flag.
Yeah.
And then
lost
on
his tooth recently.
Yeah,
May his tooth rest in peace.
Yeah, and as he was leaving CJI in the airport, rocking Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu shirts in the airport, him and his wife. And so anyway, so we're looking ahead to next year. So, you know, we're getting those schools lined up. One of the ways that people can help if they want to get us there, obviously we need big space and we need support. So people that brought us to other states in the past have helped us with fundraising. They talked to different businesses. They talked to churches and said, we want to bring this ministry here. And so they helped get some of our travel for our crew, logistics covered ahead of time before we got there. So that's one of the ways people can help. But really, I mean, low hanging fruit for support is to check out, to become a monthly donor. I mean, you can give $5 a month. There's people out there that, you know, $1,000 is nothing to them. That would be a lot to us. You know, we could do a ton with that. And so sponsoring events, sponsoring podcast episodes, becoming a monthly contributor. We also have people that are just like sometimes we'll write a big check. Hey, I feel like God's calling me to do this. Here you go. You know? And so those are all the ways I think that you could support us, but really, I mean, buying merch, telling people about us.
Our content's only going to improve as well, you know, so like, share, follow us on our social media channels at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _USA is our Instagram handle. You kind of find everything about us there. Our podcast, the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and all that too. So those are just ways to get more exposure for the ministry. And if you had nothing to give, just like your support and listening to what we have to say, man. If you find value in it, great. Or we always love prayer too. Yeah. And just pray for us and pray for God's blessing over this ministry, over us, over our families, and, you know, pray that we're able to keep doing what we're doing right now. And that's, you know, trying to grow God's kingdom through the sport of jiu-jitsu. So.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, Isaac, I'm so glad y'all were able to come up to the studio, and I'm happy to know that you guys are going to be, you got a role, but that you're going to be with us tomorrow as we disabuse some people of their previous notions about how much they're able to fight. And so it's always fun to watch people get red pilled. So I appreciate y'all coming up here and being part of it.
Absolutely, man.
It's our honor, man. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a positive 5-star review. If you want me to come speak live at your event or on your podcast, just shoot me an email to info@Undaunted.Life. That's info@Undaunted.Life. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook, and check out our website for everything else, including how to donate to keep more content like this coming your way. Just go to www.Undaunted.Life. And as always, we want to thank the band Holy Name for allowing us to use their music for our content. The music on this podcast is their song Perpetua, which is off their self-titled debut album on Face Down Records. The links are in the description. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep pushing back darkness, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical resilience, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.